also from your side. I think our team.
Yeah, will.
Thank you, sir. I think I'll send it.
Will send. Sure.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
Please join me in welcome the dynamic founder of Sitswarm, Mr. Kishore Indukuri, a visionary in the world of entrepreneurship. His journey from a small dairy farm to leading D2C plays in the premium milk space is nothing short of inspirational. Today he is here share his insight on the entrepreneurship and innovation. Let's give a warm welcome to Kishore Indukuri.
So how many of you have heard of Sitswarm? Any hands? One. Okay. So ours probably is a little easier to understand, because we sell milk, right? As simple as that. And so I'll talk a little bit about, what I've done before. I know in the last session Ravi was talking about his journey essentially. So I'll talk a little bit about my journey as well. So I come from a middle class background, right? Family was never into business. My father was an engineer. I started out as an engineer as well. Not even remotely connected to business. I'm telling this so if some of you are feeling overwhelmed to do a startup, you can start anywhere, anytime. I got into IIT in my second attempt, right? I did not get it in my first attempt, worked hard, got it in my second attempt, studied at IIT Kharagpur, for which I think this year I got the Young Alumnus Award. So I think I got lucky to get that award. Went to Kharagpur. Didn't really study hard there, I think once I graduated, I realized maybe thoda pad lena chahiye, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to skip all the nonsense, go to the US, study hard. That's what I did. I got a master's as well as a PhD in polymer science and engineering. After that, worked for Intel for about 6 years. So I was in manufacturing. No, I'm not from an IT background. Worked there for 6 years. But all along in my 6 years, right, I felt something was missing, right? Somehow there's a strong, I think 3 years into my work, I went to one island, a remote island in Seattle, did a wind turbine workshop. So this workshop, was all about, building a wind turbine from scratch, right? So spent a week there, learned a little bit. Then another week I took a break again, and this time I did a solar energy installation on a home in Arizona. See, what was I doing? I was trying to explore what I liked, right? Somehow I was not getting that kick that I wanted, right? I said, then, first 3 years I was doing, one kind of work at Intel. Last 3 years, I moved into a different role. That job was exciting, right? The job, I think, really helped understand a little bit more about myself, right? So, this job was like this. We would, Intel was building a $250 million facility, and there was a small 25 people team that was, part of this project. So wake up at 7 in the morning, right? Be there by 7:30, and things would go on till late evening, late night, right? But that was the most exciting part of work for me, right? And I think 3 years into that, I got to travel a little bit. I realized that, maybe this is the time to try something on my own. I had a little bit of savings. As I said, again, I'll re-emphasize no business background. So I made a lot of mistakes. So I came back, we came back to India. By that time, we had a son, we had a house in the US. So decided, TK, we will move back. We sold off our house and, started, picked two areas, one education and the second one was agriculture as something that I wanted to try. Both of the things, agriculture, something was always close to my heart. And started with growing vegetables, right? And I think, I don't know if Srinivas Reddy Garu is here. At least 5-6 years ago when I connected with him, he was the HOD of mechanical engineering here. He's still here. So another thing that I did was, am I too loud? Am I holding it too close? That's okay. Another thing that I tried to do was education. Education was something that was very close to my heart. So started by doing practical engineering college, practical education in engineering colleges. That was another thing that I wanted to try. And name of my company, is Sid's Farm. And our elder son's name was Siddharth, right? So one of the things that we looked at, right, we were looking for good food for our son. At that time he had, a lot of allergies. So we were always looking for good food for him. And we thought, we've looked for, milk again. Where can we get to good milk, right? In the US, you had a lot of options available. In India, we felt like there were not as many options available, right? So we started with that problem statement, right? So, as you're starting your own enterprises, or if you're thinking of starting your own enterprises, the first thing that is the most important thing is a problem statement. We researched a little bit, right? Food Safety and Standards Authority of India was doing several surveys. In one of the surveys, some of the data that they compiled, so some of the testing, the data showed that milk is not there at where it needs to be, right, in summary. Right, you occasionally hear about adulteration in milk and food, always reported somewhere or the other. So we said, let's be part of this problem, right? Let us take this problem and offer a solution, right? And that is a clear problem. So we named it Sid's Farm. Siddharth is the name of our elder son. We named it Sid's Farm because it was a promise from a parent to a son saying we'll produce the best possible milk, and that is what we deliver to everybody around us. That is a clear value statement. This is the value. See, today we started with few people, right? Initially it was just me, then probably about 10 people we started the farm. Today we are close to 450 people, right? Right? But each and every one of our people, this is the value, right? Good milk is what we do. If we cannot do that, we'll go out of business, we'll not do this business, but only good milk is what we do. It is a clear thing that is percolated across the entire organization, right? So as I said, I talked about the problem statement. Initially when you start, right, when you pick a problem and try to solve it, you'll have one solution that you picked out from various sources, right? So our first solution was, okay, we'll start a dairy farm. Okay. And we started the dairy farm not too far from here, right? About actually a few kilometers from here is where we started our first farm. 20 cows, no background, right? I didn't have any background. I didn't know how to select a cow, right? I was once, talking to a doctor, I was asking him, how do I pick a cow, right? He said, annam jusi konandi annar. Annam etla justa naakaithe teliyadu at least. But yeah, I took a book, read through it. He said 6 or 7 points. Ee chudandi, ee chuste avanu select chesam. We picked our cows, started our farm here, and start chesam farm. We started our farm, started producing milk. Our cost of production was anywhere from 25 to 30 rupees a liter. Producing 1 liter of milk those days, about 7 to 8 years before, right? 13 to 15, 26 to 30 rupees was the cost of production. When we went to sell it in the market, all we were getting paid was 13 to 15 rupees a liter. not even half of what it was costing to produce. Then we realized that, the only way to survive is to sell it direct. Now DTC is a very popular word, right? But back then we did it because we had to survive, right? So let's take it direct to customer and sell it. So every Saturday, Sunday, we got a nice flyer printed. We say we do pure milk. We started distributing some of these flyers. Every Saturday, Sunday, I would sit in an apartment complex, explain about our milk, have people try a little bit of our milk and started to sell it. And to my surprise, people started accepting it. So we started with 20 liters of milk, went to 100 liters, then 300. So that is how, the customer acceptance was there, right? So we felt like the demand. See, I think Ravi was talking about proof of concept, right? Proof of concept happened to us, right? And at this stage, as I told you, I was trying to do two things, right? One, I was trying to do something in education, and the second, I was trying to do something in, in agriculture, dairy. So I would take classes. As I was taking classes, I would get a call from a customer saying that Eros pal raledu. I would get phone calls. See, I answered all the calls. For the first 4 years of the business, I took every call that the business got. Right? So, pal gavali, pal oddu. Every call. From 6 to 10 in the morning, we would get phone calls. 6 to 10 at night, we would get phone calls. So, then decided you can only do one business properly. Right? So stopped whatever, even though I loved education, I felt like, you can only do one thing right. I stopped stimulus that I was doing and just started doing a lot more of Sid's Farm. See, as I said, the solution was that we were offering was a dairy farm, produce good milk, and deliver it to our customers, right? And we started to scale. One time, we were doing this. We had a professor from Germany who came and visited our farm. He was one of our customers. He visited us. He told us, Kishore, he then became a professor at IIM Ahmedabad. So he asked me to come give a talk on value chain management. Right, and how we look at it at Sid's Farm. How many of you know the word value chain? So then we started writing what is it. See, what were we doing? We were producing milk. We were producing our own milk. Then, I'll tell one more story. I skipped a story. Then we were packing it. We were just hand packing the milk. We were processing and packaging it. Then we were also doing home delivery. When you do home delivery, you also have to attend calls, right? Because if the packet does not get delivered, if a cat has drank from your packet, all of that you still have to address, right? So we were doing all these three things, right? Take a look at any other dairy. They actually only do one or two of them. We were doing all these three things separately. I'll tell a little bit about a story, so it is a little bit more interesting. It is a little bit more exciting, for you guys. So I remember dairy farm. A lot of people told me, dairy, don't get into dairy farm. It is one of the toughest fields to do. I didn't listen. I got into it anyways. I thought, kar lenge. I know how to fight. I'll fight. But only when I got into it, I realized, what a fight it was, right? 4 to 5 in the morning, we used to wake up, okay? 5 to 5:30, hand packet milk. 5:30 to 6:30, home deliver it. No chance for error. And in the initial days, we used to sell raw milk. Morning milk, we used to sell in the morning. Evening milk, we used to sell in the evening. So 365 days into 730 days, we used to deliver milk. A lot of accidents, whatnot, right? A lot of nonsense also happens, right? These are all learning things. So as our milk started to grow, 4 became 330, 330 became 3 became 230. At one point, we were waking up at 1:15 in the morning just to make sure customer gets their milk at 6:30. Doesn't matter how great milk you produce, if the milk doesn't reach a customer by 6:30 in the morning, it is no good, right? Because the end thing, you have to deliver to a customer by 6:30. So, right? All along, right, we were maintaining our values really, really strongly. So whenever we needed help, right, we went back to our customers. right? And one of the first things we did, we were selling raw milk. We realized that if you continue to wake up at 1:15 in the morning every day and do it for year on year, both our animals as well as our people will die, right? At that point, we realized, let's start chilling milk. Let's understand a little bit about processing. That is when we invested in a small chilling facility, right, for our milk. I never banked with a banker, so understood a little bit. I was in Narkuda, there is a syndicate bank right here. One day I met the bank manager. I was casually chatting with him. He told me, Kishore, I can offer you a bank loan, right? And that is when, that took almost a year for us. And we bought our own piece of land in Shabad, about 30 kilometers from here, and started putting up a processing facility. So I'll come back to value chain. Production of raw milk, then process and package it, then, home deliver it, right? All these three things. So, as we started to understand our value chain, right, we felt like, are we really good at production of raw milk? And when we started to write this question, right, we felt like, the farmers all around us were actually producing milk a lot more efficiently than we are able to, right? But trust is a problem. How do I know that milk is good? Mem chestunnanta varaku, we know it is good milk, right? We will make sure that not a single drop of milk, single drop of water gets into our milk, right? Water is also, concern for people, right? So, wherever our produces, how do you know that is great milk? So that is when we started to understand that testing is important. See, we always used to get this question from customers. Kishore, nuvaithe farm lo eppudu undavu kada 24 hours. No, how can you guarantee me that evaro neelu galapaledani etla? I'll give a small joke, right? One day we got invited to Chirek. We were talking to students there. I asked them this question, right? See, initially we had a lot of hurdles, right? For example, sometimes one day cow gave less milk, but we had a commitment to our customers, right? We had to sell so many liters of milk. What would you do? I asked the students. One of the kids, raised his hand. We never ever did that, right? It never occurred to us also to ever add a drop of water, right? We actually came back to the farm, milked our cow a third time. Probably, bichare usko taklif diya, but we milked the cow a third time, got that 1 or 2 liters of milk, and I went back in my car and home delivered again to our customer. But we never ever, did that, right? I've never ever added a drop. So we realized that testing was very, very important. And I have, a lot of people asked me, right, you're padalika, you're doing all this, right? What value are you adding? This is a question I always had. A lot of people say, including my parents, you did all this, you studied that, what are you doing? See, education is about, can you problem solve? Can you take any problem and solve it, right? And that is where I think as a company, we figured out solutions to the problems that we needed to solve. And today at SIDS Farm, we do 6,000 tests every day on our milk. Right? A lot of people say 6,000 tests. Is it even possible? But that is what we do, right? Every 40-liter can of milk that goes through our facility gets tested. We test for urea, sugar, salt, any starch that can get into milk, preservatives like hydrogen peroxide, caustic soda, baking soda, formalin. We look for 5 different classes of antibiotics, steroids, hormones, anything that can get into milk externally, we test for it. Anything that could get into the future, we are already researching it. Why? Because we are paranoid about milk quality, and that is the solution that we said we'll offer to our customers. Our milk packets say no antibiotics, no hormones, and no preservatives, and we deliver that every day. How do I get the confidence to stand here and say that my milk is good? Because we test it. We put that depth into the problem that we are trying to solve, right? And that is the solution statement that we've offered, right? We have a model dairy farm about 25 kilometers from here. You can come visit that farm anytime. See, how do customers trust us? Our milk is 30% more expensive than regular milk. Still, customers are paying for our milk. Why? About 40,000 customers today buy our milk in the city of Hyderabad. Why do they buy it? Because it is not about money. Please remember, a lot of people say, okay, your milk is 120 rupees. Why? right? The value, it is not about money, it is not about that MRP or 120 rupees, it is about whether are you giving that value to them or not. If you are convinced that you are giving your customer that value, people will pay for it. And the value that we are giving is you don't have to worry about the milk that you drink, right? For 1,000 rupees more, that is what, if you calculate, if you do the math, right? If you're paying 30 rupees more for our milk, right, into 30 days, it is about 1,000 rupees more. For 1,000 rupees more, which is cost of a meal outside, if you go to a restaurant, it will probably cost you 2,000 rupees. For 1,000 rupees more, your kid can have one product which you don't have to worry about. And that is a clear value prop that we give to our customer. Please remember value, right? When you build your own enterprise, are you giving that value to your end consumer or not, right? And in our solution statement, the solution statement that we offer to our customers, a model dairy farm, where we research, right? We work with close to 1,500 farmers that produce our milk for us, but every 40-liter can of milk gets tested. Right? And every Saturday, since the inception, right, we've been doing this a lot more aggressively. Now, every Saturday, farmers can walk into our farm from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. They can see exactly how to milk a cow, right? Walk into the lab, see exactly all the tests that we do, then walk into our processing facility, get an idea of what happens in a milk processing facility, go through our grass growing operations just to get a feel. Kids go on a tractor ride. We give them the entire thing end to end to build this trust with our end consumer.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
Thank you, Anupam, for being here. And I think we all seen the kind of effort being put in by the students of IIT Kharagpur. And we hope today's interaction with Anupam would be very fruitful for all the people sitting here and also all the people watching a live telecast on mystartuptv.com and other students. Anupam, your journey has been interesting. And I know there are some videos I saw of yours, but it's complete social media blank of yours. We'll be asking about that. Tell us, how did your entrepreneurial journey start, and which was the year you decided that you want to set up and become an entrepreneur, and you want to become an entrepreneur in the edtech sector?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief, right? We can keep it open for them, right? So, to talk briefly about ourselves, for us, three of us, Nestwave is co-founded by three of us, myself, Rahul, who is incidentally alumnus of IIIT Hyderabad, and then Sashank. So three of us used to work together in an incubator based out of Hyderabad previously, right? So during that time, three of us were actively hiring for different roles at the previous company that we were working for. So one thing that was really, surprising, shocking, and whatnot was we felt and found the students are really capable and have the potential. But the question, are they carrying enough skills to come and contribute to the workspace immediately after graduation, was a question to us. So that felt us really surprised, because back then the teams with which we were working were incidentally to be from tier 1 institutes, call them IITs, NITs, IIITs, BITS, etc. Right? So I won't say at IIT Kharagpur the education was really fabulous, or I learned everything from my professors or so, but the ecosystem had played a key role, right? I mean, because we have so clubs like this Entrepreneurship Cell, or beautiful clubs, etc., where we learn from the ecosystem.
And you're also the general secretary of
so you have beautiful ecosystem over there which helps you to come out with flying colors, right? So, but then if you look at tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 colleges, is it the ecosystem same, or are they coming up with enough skills which can help them get a job right after their graduation, was a question. So that made us really think that this is something that is really big. The students by the age of 21, what, like, students are roughly, at least these days, spending at least 20 to 30 lakhs by then, right? I mean, by the time if they're graduating, if they're not having enough skills which can help them to get, a job at least, then it's a serious question on what we are, as an ecosystem, providing them, right? So that's the starting point of our entrepreneurial journey. So 3 of us, Rahul, I and Sashank, were equally excited when we started this, and it's been 3 years, fabulous journey ever since then.
Yeah, your platform, you have, after recent funding round 8 months back, you call yourself, or you aim to achieve, to become India's largest employability platform. So tell us about this kind of ambition and what makes you confident that in the next 1 year, is it the target? Your company is going to reach the target or probably become this largest employability platform of the country.
So probably, thanks Rahul. In his prior interaction, he took a broad demography of the audience here, right? So
this 500 million, 600 million students?
Yeah, I mean, it is. So more than before I talk about that, so I'm assuming everyone in this room is, engineer, or at least completed their, or pursuing their undergraduation. Is my assumption right? Yeah, I mean, that must be the case, right? So if you look at our whole, education journey as such, right? So what are we really putting our all efforts for, right? So at the end, yeah, I mean, handful of us must be really interested in the research that we'll be carrying out after, studies, or some of us might be really interested in entrepreneurship, like Rahul. Since his childhood, he was really interested in business. But significant portion of our Indian student segment are really, we are doing what we are doing for the sake of job, right? I mean, to get a good job at the end of the day. So now, I mean, if you take the whole education sector as such, at the age of 21 or 22, would I really remember what my marks were in mathematics in the 7th grade in my 3rd unit test? Or would I really, care about, do I have enough skills that are required for me to get a good job, right? So, I mean, by employability, we mean we plan to stick to get outcomes for what we are doing, right? I mean, by outcomes, we mean the job is the outcome. So we are working on a thin line of fire where we are making students say that, you do this is what companies are looking for right now. So we are actively in touch with 3,000 companies or 4,000 companies or so. This is what they're looking for right now. This is the gap that is present in academia industry, a gap. So this is what let's plug in, and this is what you need to study so that clear this, and you will be in a position where you will get a job at least, right? So by employability university, we mean that. So now what makes us confident is, this is an interesting bit which I want to clear the air for a lot of the people. So right now, our biggest problem in our journey is not to make students get the job. I mean, I'll factually speak this. Right now, the number of opportunities that companies are looking to offer to the students are far higher than the number of students who are studying on our platform. That's the irony right now today, right? I mean, there must be assumptions that, 9 months back from here, we all heard the stories of mass layoffs in Google, Accenture, Amazon, Microsoft, everything, everywhere page number 1 is filled with such kind of stories. But the brutal, reality is, I can't take absolute numbers, but I'll take in percentages. If you are getting 100 offers from companies saying that, I want to hire for 100 roles, we were able to provide only 20 students as on today. So that's what our confidence is, that, we can become largest employability university, because companies are in dire need of the talent that they want to hire for and they want to solve the problems for. And they're ready to shell out huge, go above and beyond as well. I'll just give an example. So, I'm assuming everyone in this room knows about BharatPe, right? I mean, BharatPe. So, exactly 15 months back, there was an incident where BharatPe was offering, every software developers whom they hire, a BMW bike, World Cup tickets to Dubai. Back then, 2021 World Cup was happening in Dubai. So, tickets to and fro tickets to Dubai, and an iPad. So, why are they offering? Because there is such shortage of talent. In order to attract talent, really talented, skillful people, they had to go above and beyond to do that. So these are kind of cases which makes us feel that, there is, even today, this happened to me last month, right? So one of my alums of IT company was like, decade senior to me, came to me saying that he has company in Dubai, IT-based company. So he wants to hire 24 developers. So he came to me and said that, I want to hire. But I told him, sorry, right now we have to keep on waitlist, because the opportunities are so many high that I can't provide enough number of students who are graduating out to you. Then he requested me, why don't you put me on waitlist number 1, because we share the same, alma mater. So that was the kind of situation we are in right now as a society. That's what makes us believe that, we can...
That's nepotism. Yeah, continue.
Not nepotism, but familiarity, whatever you call. That's how the society evolves, right? Yeah. So that's what makes us, believe that there is very huge void in this space that needs to be filled, and collectively it's responsibility of not just, us, but bunch of players. There is a requirement for us all together collectively to help Indian youth coming out from the colleges to make them employable, right? Second order effect, what we see is if we don't make them really, skillful to become employable, right? So all the chaos in society starts from there, because age of 20 to 23 is where you have like that, energetic blood. So they're really, agitated with society or education system, and that leads to all the disturbing elements in the society as well. So this is the second order effect that we are really worried about, not just, the straight line that we're looking at.
Admirable. But the premise of Indian youth, especially engineers, not being really up to the mark in terms of what the corporates want or what the market really wants, is a well-known factor. It's a well-known factor. Where does Next Wave, your company, without a E, where does Next Wave make that kind of shift from the kind of trainings we have across the world? We have Amirpet right next door. So is Next Wave trying to create a kind of a larger scope Amirpet in Nanakramgoda? Is that what you're attempting? How?
Okay, how many in this room have tried to appear for, JEE or IIT or any other competitive exam? At least, tried thinking of attempting. Okay, I can see, half a dozen hands, right? So, I come from that background, I come from that factory where, we were put as students, came out as, those kind of, with IIT ranks, right? So, I'll ask in this way, right? If we are in such kind of, IIT preparatory course, and say, for example, this year MHRD announces that IIT syllabus is changing. So, would the Chaitanya, Narayana, Akash, Fiji, Bansal, etc., whatnot of the world, would they change their syllabus or not immediately, the next day, right? So, that's a no-brainer.
They would change, yes.
So, now when was the last time the curriculum was changed in Tier 3, Tier 4 colleges? Because, even administrators want to do that, right? No college wants to say that, I don't want to give placement, but they have their own practical constraints. So, we have beautiful colleges, Andhra, Telangana together are owning like around 800 colleges, right? So, whenever we talk to administration in the college as well, they are like equally excited to bring some change in the society. But when was the last time curriculum was changed, right? So, probably decade or decade and a half back. So, okay, decade back, do we have all this digital first transaction? No. So, do we have all this digital first, whatever we're doing now? No. So, industry is evolving at rapid pace. So, now whatever the student has to learn, is that aligned with what industry is really required, right? So that's what now we call it as, the focus is always on reverse engineered curriculum. When we mean reverse engineered curriculum, look at what companies really want. So, last 8 months there has been huge buzz on what? GPT, right? Everyone, no matter whether they are tech savvy or not,
GPT, AI, automation.
GPT, AI, etc. So they are really worried whether the skills that we are teaching to the students will be really, valid or not. Then we hit on the ground. Personally, three of us, like all three co-founders of us, like went, hit on ground and spoken to MNC CEOs and the talent acquisition heads, engineering managers, etc. What their hiring requirement is going to change. There are certain notes and inputs that we got, and we were able to change it within the short span of time.
So was this interaction with the recruiters in constant level interaction? Does it continue so that you keep on getting
feedback? So it's not an event based;
Yeah.
it's a continuous. So we have a it's like it's not like once in 6 months or once in 3 months. It's on daily basis. So you have companies coming in to hire your students. You understand what their requirement is, what they're trying to or expecting from the students. Is the curriculum aligned for that or not? And keep on iteratively changing it. So it's not event based like we do it once in a year, once in 6 months. It's continuously iteratively feedback mechanism that is kicking in.
So Anupam, I have in Next Wave's basic idea of getting students to come to a platform is that you have a large number of testimonials coming from students. Very few of their online presence actually has either Anupam or any of the two co-founders speaking. Is this method of getting in students to come to a platform a very studied method? Because there's absolutely huge number of testimonials on your platform.
So, I see when Rahul was interacting earlier.
Probably explain the kind of testimonials.
Yes, I'll come to that. See, what we strongly believed in is India is a place where probably, having a brand ambassador like Kohli or Salman Kaur or Hrithik Roshan, more than that, what my neighbor or benchmate is saying is much more important to me than what Virat Kohli and Salman Khan are saying to me, right? So say for example, all of us are sitting in a classroom, right? So I mean, for time being, let's forget all our age difference, etc., and assume we are all sitting in the same classroom. I'll take the example of what happened in our case, and I definitely believe this is going to be helpful for every entrepreneur, budding entrepreneur sitting in this room. Say for example, we are all sitting in the same engineering classroom, and all of us are like, happy, chill buddies, where we go to first day, first show on Friday, bunk the classes, mass bunk, plan, holiday trips, etc., everything, right? And all of us are like, really close buddies. Say for example, tomorrow, all of a sudden, Sunil comes to me and shows me his mobile and says that, hey dude, like I built exact clone of Swiggy, which looks like exactly Swiggy, but built by me, or exactly clone of YouTube, which is completely built by me. So what will be the reaction of this complete room that is here? I would say nothing less than wow, right? Because all of us are sitting in this classroom, all of us, are like chilling, just one night batting before exams. That's typically what we do in undergraduation days, right? Tomorrow Sunil comes and shows me that he has built an YouTube clone, which has like absolutely, you can't even differentiate between whether it's YouTube or Sunil's YouTube, right? So then obviously next question from all of us is, dude, you're like all of us sitting in the same classroom, sitting on the same bench, listening to the same class, bunking the classes, chilling, enjoying, everything is same, but how come all of a sudden you build that? Your answer will be obviously next year, if you're a student next year, right? So then the kind of impact that it creates in the...
So articulate in terms of expressing the kind of advantages which your platform is giving them. So how do you recalibrate the kind of responses you're getting before you put it on the platform?
Again, this is just continuation of my previous answer, right? So, I mean, just imagine a student for 21 years or after spending like, 10, 15, 20 lakhs or whatever throughout his education, etc., is coding for the first time and looking at an output for the first time. So we've seen the students where we hear their happy, look at their happy tears immediately after getting the job, right? Because, I mean, just imagine situation of a 20 to 23-year-old guy who graduated, who's not having job. Can he attend family functions peacefully? Definitely no, right? I mean, everyone will be like, what are you up to? What are you doing these days, right? So, though they know the answer, they want to poke at you. Unfortunate, I mean, that's the irony, right? Can they really face their parents happily? No, because they have that guilt that my mom and dad has spent, so much on me that I'm not having this. So now, in such a situation, there is some savior who's coming to you and helping you write from, learn from scratch and teaching you in your own mother tongue, right? I mean, again, tier 3, when we say that we are helping tier 3, tier 4 students, we can't keep our pedagogy and learning in English. So when it's going in vernacular, teaching them in Telugu and they're getting a job, so something that's like, you can't even, so that's what keeps us pumped. I mean, this is going to be common for every industry. The moment you help your customer, the kind of, if you're solving the problem, the kind of happiness they are going to have is, that can't be quantified. So now all it needs is just, capture the raw emotions, which unfiltered candid emotions, which makes the viewer understand that, they can correlate, right? I mean, again, when I say that testimonials play an important role, I mean, that's in fact...
Was it a model which you saw elsewhere before you implemented it for customer acquisition?
More than that, again, the talking to students is what made us believe this. Talking to more and more students, right? I mean, again, I'll give one example. So say, for example, Sundar Pichai is an Indian, right? So he's from Tamil Nadu. So if I go to Tamil Nadu student and say that, if you study well, you can become Sundar Pichai, it's unrelatable to him. He can't even relate with that guy because Sundar Pichai has gone to IIT Kharagpur and post that I think he has gone to GSB or Stanford or Wharton somewhere, right?
He's been to Kharagpur, yeah.
Kharagpur post that he has gone to Wharton or somewhere in US as well, right? So now, as a student from tier 3, tier 4, definitely can't correlate to him. But I can correlate to someone who is similar to me with similar background, similar stuff, similar problems having, similar, academic, not a prodigy, academic background, like similar grades, etc. Right. If that guy is able to do that, then this platform is going to be helpful to me. Right. So this is going to be common for every startup. So if we can talk in the language of what their our customer base is, and if they can correlate that if that guy got benefited, then I can definitely get benefited through this.
Right. So when you decided to acquire customers, how did you scale up the model, and what's the kind of future? Because you have acquired a certain set of students who you promise you give the courses, you also offer employment. What's the next step in this? What's the scaling up going to happen? and in what phases?
So, I mean, there are like few sectors in India which I believe are like really fortunate, like edtech, health tech, fitness tech. These are the domains that I feel. Say for example, how many in this room knows Healthify Me, Cult Fitness, or these kind of startups? Healthify Me, I mean, we keep seeing the ads, right? So, I mean, these are the domains where you deliver the outcome, you need not do any marketing. I want to do show off. If I'm a student, if I got the job, I want to go to everyone in this room and tell that I got a job, right? I mean, I don't want to sit silent, because when I didn't have a job, everyone in this room got to me and poked me that, don't you have job, don't you go have job, right? Now, it's my, right, or my, whatever. I want to go to every single person in this room and say that though they don't ask me that, I got a job, right? Tomorrow I'm going to host a party, why don't you come there, right? So now the obvious next question from everyone in this room is, how have you gotten the job? The answer is going to be next wave. Similarly, just imagine a Healthify Me, a guy with obese, like having 120 kgs of weight, is coming down to, say for example, 90 kgs of weight in, say, 9 months.
Okay.
So everyone is going to ask, or that guy is going to go,
but how is Next Wave implementing this idea? Like you are...
I mean, we need not implement, right? I mean,
you are going to
so,
okay.
I mean, there are two parts. So, a student, if you deliver the outcome, the student is not going to sit silent. And the parents are not going to sit silent in the first place. So, say for example, my dad, who is in the age of 50 or 55, if I got a job and not having job for last 2-3 years, if I got a job now, my dad would be more than happy to put it in spam all family groups saying that, Anupam has gotten a job now. Just imagine tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 guy who face that kind of pressure from society, relatives and everyone.
But Anupam, would this be a challenge to tell your students to pitch in your company name when they advertise?
That's the derivative of loyalty, right? I mean, just
okay, now the important question is, how do you build this kind of a loyalty with the students? Because obviously they're not sitting in front of you. Yours is essentially an online classes mainly. So they're not sitting in front of you. How do you build this kind of loyalty so that these students can go back home and say that I learned it from Next Wave?
Again, whatever I'm going to say, I think it's applicable for across industries, not just for Next Wave or tech as such, right? So, see, any user or customer coming to you means they must have tried or burned their hands with at least 3 or other 4 similar players, or someone who's providing similar value proposition. They have done their college, probably they must have tried something else. They have tried campus placements or offline interest, etc., etc. So now they have seen darkness to appreciate the light. That's a simple thing. So in order to build the loyalty, what we felt was just give the right value proposition to the user, because if a user is coming to you, which means they have spent like 3-4 other places. Again, going back to the same previous example, Healthify Me. Before I take up the Healthify Me subscription, I must have definitely met, or I must have tried to hit the gym prior, or I must have tried to wake up myself every day morning 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. and jog, lift weights, etc., whatnot, right? I must have tried 3 or 4 things which couldn't give me results, and now I am looking at Healthify Me. The reason why I'm referring to Healthify Me is because we continuously draw inspiration from, not from edtech, we draw inspiration from fitness tech and health tech.
But Anupam, there's this interesting aspect in this format in which you're approaching. One is the customer loyalty part, but also you need people, trained people, who when they're facing students, your customers, they're trained to say things and trained to deliver your message. So what's the kind of training you inculcate in the people who are facing the students or the customer client facing executives?
Again, one thing we understood is no matter how much you say in phone call, it's the trust that's going to win the customer. So now again, trust. Say for example, a student is coming to you saying that, sir, I'm a mechanical student, graduate in 2019 with 3 years or 4 years of career gap, and I didn't have any prior experience. Would I get a job? You have to say nothing. Just provide 20-30 video testimonials of students who have gotten, similar, from similar background, have gotten a job. That is enough, right? I mean, okay, so there is Anupam, who is mechanical graduate, 2019, 4 years gap, he got a job. There is Sunil, mechanical, 2018, who has 5 years of career gap, has gotten a job. There is someone else who has 6 years of career gap, gotten a job. So now, okay, so there are 20 people or 30 people like me, exactly like same academic track record, same, tier of college, exactly same, all the variables are same. Now, if they have gotten a job, then there is something that, I can also get a job. So that's what is going to play a key role. And I feel no matter how much pushy or, how much attempt that we make, it's impossible to gain the trust of the customer unless we feel, yes, I mean, there can be some results. But one thing we understood in working in, India, I mean, the reason why I'm talking India is prior to starting up Nestwave, I was majorly part of, US and Middle East markets. So one thing we understood in India is, it is highly trust game. No, whatever industry you are, you need to gain trust of customer in order to, turn them as your paid customers. In order to gain the trust, probably, brand ambassador, etc., can help to a certain level. Okay. But your existing customers who got benefited from you are your walking, talking brand ambassadors. Okay. Nothing can beat that.
Yeah, Anupam, as an entrepreneur, what will be advice to youngsters? You started your company in 2020, and okay, what will be your advice to youngsters sitting out there who would want to start their own company? What kind of path they have to start on? What kind of mentors they have to approach? What kind of funding they use? So what has been your journey and what kind of advice? So these are the two parts we'll probably try to conclude.
So I'll try to keep it, probably it may go a little philosophical as well. I'm just giving heads up, right? So probably, my generation of entrepreneurs, I'm talking about majorly, my generation and current generation of entrepreneurs, somewhere to us, everything has been commoditized or readily available. Like what I mean by commoditized is you have a really good idea and you have really good, oratory skills and, analytical skills, you can get funding. That's not a really difficult thing today because, there are like bunch of,
so good presentation skills is something.
I mean, good storytelling skills. Good story. I mean, there are a bunch of HNIs out there in India and, capital is commoditized. And hiring people to a certain extent that is commoditized. Everything is commoditized. So, everything is so easily approachable these days that, you can start your own company just like, how you go to Domino's and say that, I want, veg loaded pizza. As simple as that these days. By simple I mean, doing the base work, right? But to have sustainable and, which we can, to drive towards the right path, one thing that I feel is somewhere because of all this have become so accessible, thought process has become so much, narrowed down that we are picking only low-hanging fruits. By I mean low-hanging fruits. If I want to drive customer acquisition, let me go onto Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Let me do digital marketing. I'll get some leads that will give me the, customers. So Anupam can do that, Sunil can do that, everyone in this room, sitting in this room can do that, or they can hire people or agency and can do that. But what different am I doing so that this is the secret recipe of Nestwave or Anupam's, so that this is going to, help me get customers at, a different level. So something which is not obvious, which is not low-hanging fruit, should be identified in every aspect. That could be it product, be it your customer acquisition style, be it your hiring. So I'll come to an example where during our hiring time, we started in 2020 October, we went to hire, into the market to build our team. So 2021 around July, August times. So if you guys remember, 2021 was period where, you wake up, you hear to a story of new unicorn, right? I mean, there was one day where at 8 a.m. there was 91st unicorn, at 12 noon there is 92nd unicorn, 6 p.m. there is 93rd unicorn, 9 p.m.
investors, what kind of skills he needs to have in his final years, for example, or also the question of feedback. Everybody has an idea, but how do you ensure that the idea you have has the right feedback so that you solidify the idea and you make it more concrete and you're more confident of the idea? So what is the internal mechanism or external mechanism for this?
Like these are two parts. One, validating the idea. Second part is approaching the investors, right? So validating the idea, I feel, no day idea is going to be perfect. So again, product market fit and all these things are like, it's a journey rather than like Rahul was mentioning prior here of one school. So it's a journey rather than, a single destination, right? So at certain point, you continuously keep iterating, you understand that, okay, so this is my value prop is going to be helpful to customers. So now a customer is paying me for this value prop, right? So that's probably first part. Second part, I mean, the next panel discussion, which is about investment and other things, they can also answer it much better. So see, investors also wants to invest, right? I mean, the capital which is sitting in their bank account, they don't want to keep it at the fixed deposit of 5%, 6% returns, which is giving.
But
right?
How does it come to the person who has this brilliant idea?
Yes. So even investors are in search of really good people where they can put their money in, right? So, I mean, when we started our fundraising journey, I mean, one thing we were surprised is, we didn't know that people would reply to your cold mail. We were surprised to know that. I mean, we started our journey there, right? So every investor wants to invest given the confidence.
How many cold mails did you?
So, I mean, almost 100% hit rate it was. Like almost every cold mail we've sent, there was a response from, the big shots we hear in the industry of investors to the angels, etc. Everyone.
That's heartening.
Right. I mean, coming to the same topic again. So investors want to invest their capital because they don't want to get just that 5-6% returns from FD or whatever they're getting from the bank by putting it in the bank account, right? So they want to invest in startups so that they can get multiplied returns. So now there is a lot of clutter out there, right? I mean, there are like probably 1,000 mails that an investor is going to receive, etc. So now how we can keep it there are two simple ways I feel. One, having a referral. So, say for example, I know 10 investors. If someone is approaching me and if I'm really convinced, I would put a word to, investor A, B, C saying that, hey dude, like, I know this guy who has built really fabulous startup. I think it's worth, your attention. So that's one thing. Second thing, if you're going to do, cold email or you're going to have it networking events or etc., it's important to have 2-3 metrics or 2-3 lines which definitely grabs their attention, saying that, these are the 3 things that we achieved so far, and these 3 things is what we are looking next. So if these 2 things can grab their attention, because I believe investors would receive at least, 10 to 50 to 100 to 500 emails any given day. But how, quickly we can grab their attention and, make them feel that this is worth my time, right? So again, investors would evaluate probably 100 startups and invest in one, but how we can filter into that 100 is the next big thing.
Time seems to be running out as usual. So any final thoughts on wisdom you want to share with people here, budding entrepreneurs?
So, one thing that really helped us...
and we all should take note of what Anupam is saying because he's rarely seen and heard. So let's hang on to his...
So, see, I mean, one thing that we understood after starting NestWave is it's important to, think beyond what's so obvious in every decision that we want to make. Right? As said, if you want to do acquisition, there might be 2-3 quick ideas that you get, let me go and advertise on Google, let me go and put up a hoarding near, whatever near the highway or etc. or whatever it is. Hit pause, think again, think about alternate ways with which you can do so that can act as your secretary. Whatever, think just beyond obvious, right? I mean, when we sit for, our own internal ideation session or brainstorming for everyone, first 1 minute ideas that we get are like, which are so obvious to everyone, right? I mean, that's the common thing which all of us get. Hit pause, just take little more time, think about, what, something that's not so obvious that I can do, so that can help as my, competitive, you call it competitive advantage, call it secret recipe, call it moat, whatever, right? So that is something that is, which helped us to pick something that is not so obvious, not so low hanging, pick something that is eventually go and act as your competitive advantage. That's what, the biggest thing that I can share to anyone.
Thank you, Anupam. On behalf of everyone, thank you. Think beyond obvious is something I will definitely cover.
Hi, Anupam. I would like to know the first initial journey because it's an online journey, right, that you started with. How did you meet the first customers and then crack that 0 to 1?
So it was during COVID, so no chance to meet them in person. So lockdowns, etc. were there, right? So one thing we've done was like even before the product started shipping out, we started building, WhatsApp communities. So believe me or not, at certain point, we were having 2 lakh people in our WhatsApp groups in 3,000, spread across 3,000 WhatsApp groups. So we were just building on, community by sharing, simple, I think everyone in this room knows news in shorts, right? In shorts where we just swipe to read the news.
Yeah.
So such small nuggets of tech stuff we were providing to every student. So students were like, chalo, let me get added to the WhatsApp, this is what's wrong. They are providing something insightful every day. If you guys know FinShots, similar to FinShots, right? So that way we had like large pool of community back then. So then we started shipping out our product slowly. Then, few people join, few people don't join any day. So for us, even today, one thing that we really, give lot of importance is any given day out of 100, people who are approaching you, there will be people who are not opting for your product will be far more than the number of people opting for your product. That's the, nature's law, right? I mean, the majority will be the number of people who are not opting for your product. It's important to learn from each and every one of them why they are not, opting for your product. And again, if you just ask this question outrightly, they won't answer, right?
Correct.
So we used to do anonymous user calls saying that, I want to keep it off record, but fine. So we call the users and, talk as if, I am also a student who is willing to join NestWave. What is his recommendation or his or her recommendation, whether they would ask me, allow me to join NestWave or not. So they would say, bro, it's fine to join NestWave, but, there are these 2-3 concerns that I have. That's why I didn't join, right? So had I called him like NestWave's representative, probably they wouldn't have told me this, right? So try to get as much candid feedback as possible. And sometimes here, we'll get into bias where we don't want to hear some stuff which we are not really happy or comfortable with. But let's be brutal and honest, harsh against ourselves to take the feedback. So nudge them, poke them, and take anonymous feedback as much as possible, so that which helps you to give, right things, what is making user to not opt for your product, right? And this is going to be eternal forever.
Okay, thank you. Got it. And one other question followed with that. Basically, we are looking at a larger vision. Okay, let's talk about the big problem that we want to solve. But today, that problem everyone knows, but no one want to act. Okay, now for us, taking that into the market is a big challenge, because it's a mission which everyone want to talk about or even think through, but no one want to act for. So how do you think we should plan out such things?
See, by chance, do you know Skyroot, which is Hyderabad-based startup again, right? I mean, Skyroot, which is into space technology.
Aerospace technology, the first rocket launch.
Yeah, first private rocket launched, apart from, So, I think all of us since our childhood, we have aspirations of becoming astronaut or something like that, right? I mean, looking at the cool stuff that they wear and the rockets they travel, etc. So, all of us had that cool thing. But I think they were in the same position that you were. I mean, there are tons of startups like this, right, which are in the same position that everyone feels that this is really good to have thing, but no one wants to take that bold step ahead, right? So I think it boils down to a couple of things. So one, how strong is our conviction in solving that problem which no one has solved for? How well we can, instill confidence in someone who is listening to me that, yes, there is a path to this, there is a distance. Say, for example, from here I want to go to Mumbai on road, right? So if I say that, I don't know how to go to Mumbai, no one will trust and join in my car. So I need to say that, from here to, I need to go till point A, point B, point C, from there I need to take this highway, then I need to, clear this toll gate, then I'll get into Bombay. So if I can tell them that, stepwise sequence, then they'll have the confidence to get onto my car if I have to go to Bombay, right? So similar thing is in my startup journey. Be it investor, be it team member, be it, anyone, you have a destination in your mind. So all it takes is how well we can instill confidence in them that, dude, this is the path, this is how I'm strongly confident about going, and why am I capable of doing this? Right. So if I want to have someone in my car, and if I tell them that this is the first time I'm driving my car, no one would come in, right? True. So I need to show them that, I have the, capability to drive the car for 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours non-stop if we have to go there. And my prior track record shows that, I can do this. Right. So two things. One, the destination is clear, the path is clear. And two, to drive that path, I am the capable person to drive that path. So these two things, if you can instill, even if it is like, untaken path or untaken roads, people will be really happy to explore that. That's what I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're trying the first path in this the two segments, right? The first segment, who is the captain and riding the ship, and then second is the path that you are choosing. I think we might need some discussion further, support and all of that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I guess that wraps the session up. Thank you very much, sir. It was very great, and I could really relate to the KGP parts that you mentioned. That was really great. And now I would like to welcome.
Special shout out to yourself, Vedashree and team. So I know how difficult it is to manage academics as well as I don't think it's holiday time right now, right? I think Durga Puja vacation is over and you guys are back to college.
Ends today.
Yeah, ends today. So I know how difficult it is. By your faces, going by faces, I guess you guys had night outs.
They look extremely hassle faces.
Yeah, hassle faces. So
still working hard.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
We have an exciting fireside chat coming up with two distinguished individuals in the entrepreneurial world. Joining us today is Mr. Ravi Kabra, the co-founder of Skippy, a groundbreaking startup, and moderating this engaging conversation is none other than Mr. Ganesh, founder of Gen Speaks. Ravi Kabra's innovative journey and Ganesh's insightful expertise are sure to make this fireside chat a valuable learning experience. Stay tuned for an enriching conversation that promises to spark new ideas and inspire budding entrepreneurs. So I would kindly request them to come onto the stage for the session.
So before we start this session, I would like to congratulate the team of EAD 2023 for conducting this massive event across the whole of India and for their effort to bring together the titans of the Indian entrepreneurship scene. So a big round of applause, guys. And also, I would like to thank Manasa, Arjun, Mr. Vamshi Kurapadi as well, who is not here, for giving me this opportunity and this space to sit over here and interact with such huge enigmas in the entrepreneurship field right now. So thank you for that. And so the time has finally come. We are having the fireside chat with Mr. Ravi Kabra, the co-founder of Skippy Ice Pops, and I guess the only co-founder to bring in all the 5 sharks to invest in his startup. So a very big round of applause, guys. Yeah. So, sir, before I got on the main stage yesterday, I was talking to Mr. Bharat, your team member, and then I asked him a question. What is that one quality that defines Mr. Kabra as an individual? And he answered with the word saying perseverance. And from all the interviews and podcasts that I've been through, I've understood that, you have this quality of being very cool, very composed, and I feel that you know how to handle yourself under pressure. So from where did you get that quality? And also, is this an unlabeled benefit of Skippy Ice Pops?
I guess so. But yes, I think for every entrepreneur, perseverance is the only word which will keep you driving. It's very important to understand that life of an entrepreneur is not going to be as easy as it seems all the time. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And when you're on the top, you'll find everything is working great for you. You touch the sand and it turns out to be gold. But when you're on downside of your business, when things are not going great, even in your personal life or in your professional life, perseverance is the only thing that I could probably think of. Because you got to keep pushing yourself. There will be at times that will break you down completely. You will feel like you want to sit down and just think about winding up, crying, or even you're under so much of pressure that you will probably even think about giving up. Unless and until you are very persevering in terms of ki nahi karna hai, it is going to be a very hard journey for anybody. And I think that is what drives me as an entrepreneur. I know as every brand will have a good time and a bad time, Skippy will also have a good time and bad time, but perseverance as a leader of the pack is the only thing that can drive me. My team wants to see me continuing to focus and continuing to push all the time. And yes, I've been a very calm guy. Probably at the stage today, yes, you might find it so. Maybe come back to my office, you might find a different Ravi there. But yes, got to be cool. My product is cool, so I got to be cool as well. I stay that way and that helps me work, because under pressure, if you tend to succumb and show your vigor in terms of anger or anguish, I don't think that's going to be benefiting anybody, neither just me from a health point of view. So I try to stay calm under the pressure and try to find a solution out of it. And perseverance is something that keeps driving me inch by inch, even if I'm like really vexed up with things, but still keep pushing myself every day.
Well, that's great, sir. So, for anybody to inculcate these qualities, there should be some sort of childhood experiences or the way that you were brought up that matters. So do you have anything that, that interested you as a child that made you, be over here, like the place where you are?
See, it's very important. Sometimes we fail to understand the family brought up that we actually come up across. As a kid, I've always been on a dining table where my father and my mom used to talk business all the time. Aaj itna bada problem ho gaya, aaj utna nuksan ho gaya, aaj itna profit ho gaya, and stuff like that. So we have been raised in a family where we always speak business throughout the day. And after business comes a question ki, beta aaj din kaisa tha? That is a secondary question for my father. He had been very very, very focused and persevering in terms of his ambitions. But that does not need to stop anybody from dreaming about being an entrepreneur. I'm not saying that only because you come from a family business you can be a good entrepreneur. Please, I'm not even advocating that statement here. I am just talking about the way I grew up. My parents were pretty into business family, and many a times I keep saying this in college fest and speeches where I kept being called upon, that sometimes we tend to ignore the fact that family businesses, whether your dad or your mom is sitting in a kirana store, whether she is a cloth merchant, whether she's got a beauty salon or whatever, if she's been running it for 10s and 20s of years, she has got the fundamental right of running a business in profitability. And we tend to ignore that fact. We see things ki ye to bahut chota sa business hai, ye to koi bhi kar lega. Nahin, that's not the fact. The fact is that running family business is one of the most toughest things. And I think I respect now my father to what he was doing for last 3 decades. As a kid, probably I never realized that. So as a kid, I've always been brought up in this family, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, to be honest. Even today, I don't see myself going and working for someone. I might earn less today, make less money, but I'm at least proud of whatever I'm doing for myself. That's the way I'm.
Yep. So, well, that's a really great answer from sir. So, you spoke about family businesses and, what you've learned from that. So can you tell us any 1 or 2 experiences that you went through while you were building your family businesses that actually helped you grow Skippy? So any 1, 2 powerful experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be very honest, I've been very bullish about saying that I've got family business values with me. Sometimes people think this to be a little downtrodden kind of a statement. But honestly, I'll tell you what, in today's era, the family business values are the most important thing that probably is not even taught in business schools. My fundamentals that my father taught me are still helping me run the show. First thing was credit nahi dene ka. My father was very clear about it. Business kam karo, lekin credit mat do, kyunki udhari jaise hi dete ho, you'll have to keep chasing the people around for even $500. And that was my principle from day one. I will grow slow. I will not even grow probably if required, but I'm not going to be chasing people for my own money. So I kept focusing on creating a policy around my business, which made me more sustainable. Today, we are 100% advance payment business. I mean, it sounds it sounds probably least important, but it is very important for you to work on your numbers, your capital, operating cash flows very much. So that is one value my father said. Second, my dad has always kept goodwill in more important than profitability. My dad says that the goodwill that you are creating in the market by being a genuine entrepreneur, by being a genuine businessman, will take you miles further, even if you're not doing good. But if you screw up your goodwill in the market, then nothing is going to be actually helping you out. When times go bad, your goodwill actually will help you get funds from people, maybe investment from people, or even any kind of a credit line or any kind of a opportunity from people. But goodwill was very important for him. And more importantly, it was always, he always focused on one thing, that unit economics has to be very profitable. Whether you guys are talking about getting into a service industry, creating an IT platform, a tech platform, or you're getting into a product, or an F&B entrepreneur like myself, the unit economics is very important. At what cost am I acquiring a customer? Am I making profit out of it or not? At what cost am I giving this service? Am I making profitability at every cost or not? That is absolutely very important. People today tend to forget the basic principle of business, which is making profit. We are just talking about giving service, giving a solution for a problem that we think it is important. But everything to be sustainable, like how we talk about recycling a plastic today, making planet Earth very sustainable, business needs sustainability, and that can come only from profitability. So that is the unit economics that my father focused. Based on these 3 principles, I think I started off my business. And by God's grace, we are doing decently enough today.
Decently enough is a very small word over here. But then, yes, sir. So, so I'm asking very bluntly, so were there any mistakes that you've did in the past that, from which you had massive learnings and that you applied in Skippy right now?
Yeah, I think, see, firstly, to the audience, I am going to be very raw and blunt in whatever I say. I do not like to sugarcoat anything, because as a young student in a college, I believe that you should be guided in the right path. I don't want to glamorize everything and put you on a path and only later you realize ki yaar kya kar diya maine. So yes, coming to your question, absolutely, there were a lot of mistakes that I've done in the past. First of all, when I was in my father's business, we were into manufacturing of biscuits and exports of a lot of F&B products, right? One of the mistakes that I always did was I assumed that I was growing the business. I did not give the credit to my father, because say my father was doing X crores of business or X number of business. I made it to X square or X to the power of 3 or 4. But I always felt that it was me who was doing the entire thing. But I forgot the fact that the fundamental base of the business has been laid by my father. I was only growing on top of it. Like it's like laying down the foundation of an apartment and then adding 2 more extra floors on top of it. That 2 extra floors started to hit my head. I thought that I was doing amazing work there. But for every successful entrepreneur to grow, the fundamental base of a business is very, very important. Whether you're joining your dad's, your mother's business, your family business, or whether you're starting something of your own, the fundamental is very, very important. And apart from that, this thing what has happened, I'll go a little in detail, is, based on that proud thought that I am building the business, I started something of my own, and unfortunately I crashed onto it. I literally burned a lot of money, made huge losses, and that is when I realized that it was not me who was building my business, but rather my father's business was getting built, and I was just contributing to it. So I've learned a lot of mistakes. One of the most important business ideas that I've learned is, do not scale up too fast. If you try and scale up too fast, the chances of you shaking across your path and crashing down is much more going to be higher. Probably look for a small growth, slow growth, but a strong growth. That is very important.
So, well, that is something that we all have to learn, to never scale as fast as possible, slow down, and also take your time. So now, sir, let's talk about Skippy. So how did the idea of Skippy come into your head? How did you plan on commoditizing a market, a multi-million-dollar market in the West, and how did you come up with the idea, and how did you do that?
Firstly, correction, it's a multi-billion-dollar market out there, not a million. So see, how many of you guys want to be an entrepreneur going forward? You have got some ideas that you're already thinking through, right? Awesome. So see, the good trait of an entrepreneur is that you will always keep looking for ideas. You will walk across the street and you will be like, hey, why don't I create this kind of an app? Why don't I create this kind of a tech product and stuff like that, right? Similar thing with me. I was living in Australia. I wanted to come back for personal reasons back to India. And like I said, I never enjoyed working for somebody else. Though I was working for somebody else in Australia, that's a different story. I wanted to come back, and I was thinking of good ideas. I actually came across a lot of other ideas which were very profitable, very money-making kind of an idea. But a kick dorkaled naku. I didn't get that kick. And I wanted to have that kick. Excitement undali. Emana cheste, we have to be very, very excited about what we do. And I was sitting there like, thinking about ideas, and I'm sitting here in my living room. My sister, who had come down to live with us in Australia with her kids for summer, she started to pack some local ice popsicles in a suitcase. And I'm like, Didi, why are you even packing this? I'm sure you've got a lot of brands in India. And then she turns around and said, not even a single brand, Ravi, that I can trust for my kids. And as an entrepreneur, that is the opportunity which whispers in your ears. Sometimes the opportunity is sitting right next to you guys, but you guys are getting blinded. You want to have something better and better and bigger. In my case, that simple statement of my sister turned the entire story for me, and I started to think, it's such a simple product, it's such a wantable product, why is not somebody making it in a country like India? And I started to do my research, only to realize that a country like Australia, which is not so hot as India, UK, which is colder than India, summer in UK is about, I think, 18, 22 degrees, something like that. And then you've got Canada, US, which are having $1 billion ice popsicle industry, and a country with 1.4 billion people in India, hottest and humid, nobody wanted to do it. So somehow people ignored that idea, or it never occurred to them. And as an entrepreneur, this was the kick I wanted. This was the excitement I wanted. I jumped straight into it. And eventually Skippy was born. We started with a lot of ideas through what flavors we should get into, what are the pain points, what are the solutions that I can offer. And that is how step by step the conceptualization of Skippy happened in Australia itself. We moved back to India, and then that's how Skippy started.
Well, that's amazing. So I have a bit of a lengthy question, so I'm using my paper to read it out. How was the learning experience while building Skippy? From working in an Australian company to learning about FSS, AI regulations, and understanding the business of packaged foods, what kind of research did you do? And how did it feel to relive the student days of studying a huge market and then coming up with research and everything?
The most important point I'd like to say here is, I know a lot of people say it is good to be jack of all, but unfortunately for an entrepreneur, it is a king of one industry that matters the most. You cannot be a great chemist and then look at doing an MBA, then look at doing chartered accountancy and then trying to figure out what in the hell do you want to do in your life. It doesn't work that way. Because if you have got into a segment which you love, of course, if you don't love a segment, please shift on to something that you love. But if you've got into something which you love, you need to give your 5, 10, 20 years of life in the same industry, in the same format. That is where you will get appreciated in the market. Imagine if I had 5 years of experience doing chartered accountancy with numbers, 5 years of experience where I was working for a construction company, and then 5 years of work of some other advocate or something. People would have thought me to be crazy. But the consistency, what we did was, I have got 17, 18 years of experience in the F&B space itself. Anuja, my co-founder, and my wife, she has got another 14 years of experience in the F&B space itself. So we have built our complete understanding and expertise in a particular industry. Today, if somebody comes and tells me, Ravi, can you build a fintech startup? I will tell you I'll be the biggest disaster in that, because that's not my expertise. I love the F&B space. I built myself on the F&B space, and that is why I could understand how to develop this category. So coming to your question, yes, this is how I think I realized that what are the standards of FSSI, or what are the basic standards, what are the pain points in the industry that I need to answer. So just to give a little depth understanding, when I was sitting in Australia, even before coming back to India, I knew that, first of all, India, if I start selling Skippy in a frozen format, I will never succeed. Because logistics in a cold storage is very expensive in India, very, very complex. So that was my first pain point that I had written down on a paper. Second, I have said very clearly that, okay, in case if somebody is biting on the ice pops, it should not be as hard as an ice cube, because then it will start hurting your teeth and the entire experience of enjoying Skippy will fade away. So that was my second point, that when consumers buy the ice pops and they bite on it, it should be soft and crunchy. Then the third point, I was observing that India had evolved into a consumer state which believes in natural, organic, healthy supplements and stuff like that. So that was our third pain point that we had written down, that it should not be anything synthetic or artificial which people are hesitant to consume. So that is what we met down. And then we talked about branding, because people love packaging and branding these days. So that is the fourth point. So this is how your 15 years of experience and expertise in particular domain will help you. If you are a tech geek and if you believe that you are great at technology, stick to it if you love it. And you will realize that in the next 10 to 15 years, your value in the market will go exponentially high. You will see that if you're getting into an entrepreneurship, you will be able to find solutions like this, because you know what the problems are in the first place. So that's how I focus on being. In a personal life, I want to play all the sports, right? I'm not good in any sport. I'm good in average in all the sports. But when it comes to professional life, I wanted to stick to just one domain all the time.
What Sir said is very profound. And also this is what Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, and Mr. Naval Ravikant also says. You have to play long-term games so that you can adapt and be better at what they do. So I have one more question that I wanted to ask you, sir. So can you tell us about any key business decisions that you have taken while building Skippy? Also, can you tell us how did you come up with those decisions? Did you use any mental models, or did you have anything in your head while you were going through the decision?
As a startup, one thing we all will always have common, we will never have funds. Let's agree to that, right? Father nunchi, mother nunchi oppu teeskoni, we have started something, and we'll always have that pain in our heart that we have to return back those funds. So funds has always been a problem there. But in terms of what I have learned, is that what your question is, right?
Exactly.
I think the first and the fundamental important thing, guys, whoever is starting off, please understand one thing. Do not start a startup with the hope of getting an investment. This is very, very, very important. Guys, please come out of the myth that investment is right standing outside the door for you. You will go there and you will get it. You will not get it. 97% of the people who get into startups will never get funded. That is the statistics I'm talking about, okay? If you look at India, there are tens and thousands of startups coming every year. Today, Startup India, the website has got 87,000 startups registered. Let's understand that not 87,000 of them are getting funded. So first of all, the myth that investment is right next to you is a myth. Do not start a business because you are assuming investments will come to you. It will not. I have been to a lot of colleges where students believe that I've got an idea, I'll work on it and investment to mil jayega. Nahi milega, boss. It is 1 in hundreds of people who will get investment. Second important thing is whatever business you are getting into, like I said, think from a family business point of view. Get your fundamental process and procedures right. Think about profitability on day 1, not after day 100. Because profitability is only what is going to make you sustainable for a longer time. Look at all these big brands. I don't want to name them today over here on this platform. But the guys who were hero back then now are struggling to survive. You would have heard tens and hundreds of startups who have already closed doors because they were not even profitable. They couldn't sustain their own growth. एक चीज आई वांट टू से दिस इन हिंदी, इन्वेस्टर का पैसा बिजनेस बढ़ाने के लिए चाहिए, बिजनेस चलाने के लिए नहीं. You understand the difference? बिजनेस बढ़ाने, फॉर अ ग्रोथ यू नीड एन इन्वेस्टमेंट विच इज अंडरस्टैंडेबल, बट बिजनेस चलाने के लिए यार आज मुझे सैलरीज देना है, आज मुझे रेंट देना है, आज मुझे वो देना है, उसके लिए इन्वेस्टमेंट कभी रेज नहीं करते. सो गाइज दिस इज वेरी टू इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग्स. आई वुड से today, in today's scenario, they call it as a funding winter. We all have heard this term, right? Today, only those businesses are getting funded which are profitable. Investors are running towards them. Ki yaar, aap profitable ho, I want to invest in you. And these profitable businesses have the nice, time today to decide which investors they should pick money from. So, if you guys are profitable, if you are making 1 lakh rupees profit, 5 lakh rupees profits, doesn't matter. But profitability will give you a long run. In that run, if you believe that now it is a time for you to scale pan-India, global level, that is the time you should reach out to an investor, and every investor will be interested in funding you because they know the fact that irrespective whether I give him funds or not, this bugger is going to make his business $1 million business. That's very important.
That's an excellent answer, sir. So looking ahead, where do you see Skippy going 5 years or 10 years down the lane? This is a very interview kind of question. Where do you see yourself in 10 years down the lane? But then, 5 years or 10 years down the lane.
Look, I think the way we have positioned ourselves, first of all, guys, how many of you have seen Shark Tank India, or how many of you have seen us on that? Good, right? I had made a very clear statement even on television that we are not a health brand. I'm not going to be selling a popsicle to you and say, have this popsicle and you will grow 2-inch taller. Or you will not have diabetes, or you will not have this and that, right? I have positioned myself very clearly that we are a fun brand. People want fun in life today. After COVID, hundreds of F&B brands started all talking about health, and unfortunately 95% of them are so horrible to taste that after a bite I cannot have the second bite. Do you guys agree with me or not? Yeah? So we positioned ourselves very clearly that we are a fun brand, and we've started to add to the fun story by adding more and more products. And we are an offline brand, which makes us more sustainable. Today, all the D2C, online only, yo-yo kind of a brands are struggling because they are not profitable. D2C, it's very difficult to be profitable. We are offline brand, and the way we have grown today. So pre-Shark Tank, we were a team of 14 people. Today, we are close to about 280 to 300 people across India. We were in about 700-800 or 1,000 plus stores pre-Shark Tank. We are in 22,000 stores today. We are doing more than 7,000-8,000 pin codes through Zepto and Swiggy as well. So I think the structure is perfectly aligned. If you ask me what in the next 5 to 10 years, I cannot say what is happening in the next 10 years, but at least in the next 3 to 5 years, I think we will be a 1,000 crore plus brand in terms of our revenues, which is very much possible because our fundamentals are right, our team is aligned, everybody understands that the space that where we are playing is a very, very unique category that we are trying to develop. And 20 rupees कौन खर्च नहीं करता है यार आज today if somebody wants to have an ice popsicle, he will not think कि 20 रुपए के लिए मैं लोन लूँ या क्या करूँ. He'll bring out 20 rupees and have it instantly. So I know that the entire India, 1.4 billion people are my customers today. Uttar Pradesh, if I take Uttar Pradesh, 22 crore population, 2-3 European countries समा जाएंगे उसमें, right? So I am very confident. 4 to 5 years that is the number we are aiming at, probably 1,000 crore.
Whoa.
Thank you.
So, thank you for bringing up Shark Tank, sir, because that was my next question. So, scoring investments from all the 5 sharks, it's obviously an incredible feat. So, could you share your initial expectations from Shark Tank, and what do you think convinced all the 5 sharks to invest in you?
Firstly, my disclaimer, okay? Shark Tank is not scripted. Before you guys have that thought, because I know a lot of people would be thinking, yaar, ye to scripted hai, ye to dialogues diye gaye hai, falana, falana. Absolutely not. In fact, we were in the season 1, right? At least season 2 and season 3 guys know who the sharks are. In my case, I mean, we were there for 3 days. 1 day was quarantine because it was the COVID time during then. And then 2 days we had rehearsals, and the 3rd day we had the shoot. So we didn't even know who the sharks were. Somebody said, Anupam Mittal, and then I had to Google who is Anupam Mittal. I did not know, honestly. Until we got onto the set, we did not know who the sharks were. So the entire experience of being on Shark Tank was extraordinarily good, because it was very nervousing, because we were extremely nervous. Why? Because 2 days of our shoot, when the other startups went for pitching, none of them, like 8 startups went inside a day earlier, none of them got funded. Then on our day, 6 startups went to the pitch, none of them got funding, and we were like so nervous कि यार इतने बड़े startups है, कोई solar में है, कोई tech में है, कोई इसमें, हम तो साला popsicle बेच रहे, कौन ले देगा investment? That was the kind of attitude we had, and we were nervous that we probably won't get any funding. So we went onto the set, and Anuja and I had clearly decided, yaar, we'll just give it our best shot, and अगर TV पे आ जाते हैं तो imagine startup को इससे ज़्यादा क्या चाहिए? That 15 minutes on Sony prime time is worth 8 crore rupees, nothing more or nothing less. So how many of us can actually spend 8 crores? None of us, right? Probably as a startup. So we thought कि funding मिले ना मिले भैया TV पे आना चाहिए. That was the clear agenda. And when we went inside, our pitch was perfect. We were trying to hold on to our Hyderabadi Hindi. वरना उनको नक्को इनको बोले तो it would have sounded very funny on television again. So we did our pitch, and we immediately saw that there was some excitement, and this is one thing which I always do. I bribe people with popsicles. So if you see, immediately after the pitch I said, sharks, क्या आप हमारे ice popsicle try करना चाहेंगे? And I we passed on the ice popsicles to everyone. Skippy and Ashneer started to